Hey guys, it's TF now. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This is going to be of the Good Smile Company Figma Max Factory Demon Slayer Inosuke Hashibira, the standard version. I do not have the deluxe version, unfortunately, so I won't be able to go over every single one of those accessories. However, I do have the pre-order bonus, so we'll look at that once we get to the accessory portion. I'm really late to this review. I've been sitting on this for a little too long. Decided to go ahead and review it because this is going to be my last review of 2022. I'm going to be focusing on the holidays with my family, as well as the top 10 of the year lists that I'm going to be doing later next week. Also, Inosuke is my favorite character from Demon Slayer, so I'm glad to finally get around to doing this review. Pretty nice box here, pretty standard with a lot of Figma. Sometimes they vary in size. The one that we get with the deluxe version, it just has a sleeve, I believe. But it's much different compared to this one, just to say. Max Factory there. I believe this says ages 15 and up. Image of the character right there. Figure right there, as you can see in that window box. Figma Inosuke Hashibira, as well as the Demon Slayer logo, product number 533. That sticker says sales outside Japan only. Zooming out a little bit, as you can see, you have an image of the figure right there. It does say the character's name towards the bottom, as well as Figma there. Rotating on the other side, you get to see an image of that unmasked head right there. And then again, down there it says Figma and the character's name. On top here, you get a closer up image of the figure, as well as it says Figma, product number, the character's name, and all that. Looking towards the bottom, it's pretty much the exact same, but we have a barcode there. I'm just gonna go ahead and zoom in just in case you want it. Don't think you're really gonna need it because these are really gonna be sold online. Back of the figure here, as you can see, tons of different poses and some different images, as you can see. I can zoom in maybe a little bit there. And there's this big old sticker that translates a lot of what's going on here right there. It's pretty much just warnings. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. Here's the figure out of the packaging, and oh man, do I have a QC problem on this figure that is going to keep me from loving it. So I'm kind of 4 for 4 when it comes to being either indifferent or just straight up not really liking what Good Smile has been putting out with the Demon Slayer figures, unfortunately. This isn't a god-awful figure. It looks really good, but it does have some problems. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories, then we'll take a close look at the figure. Like with a lot of imports figures, we have an instruction manual here. It shows off all the different accessories, how to interchange those different accessories, how to use them carefully, as well as how to use some of the articulation carefully. Other than that, we also get what's basic with Figma figures, which is an adjustable neck posing base that also has an attachment that goes on the top of the base that has, different angled poses if you want to use that, and it goes on the back of the figure, as well as a wrist peg in the skin tone of the character. We also have the special accessories here for this figure. Different head, a bunch of different hands on a tree of hands, as you can see there, as well as the different swords right there. Before we get to those, I do want to quickly talk about the pre-order bonus, which was a really cool pre-order bonus. It is this futon here. It's really nice. You can not only use this for your Figmas, but I also plan on using this for different figures. Of course, it's sewn off here, so if it's too big of a figure, it probably isn't going to fit. But I think standard 6-inch figures, maybe a little bit under 6-inch, will definitely work with this. You have a pillow right here. It's definitely actually like a soft fabric. I mean, of course, it's a soft fabric. There's like no plastic involved, though. It's just a sewn piece here. It's really nice quality. The texturing on here, like the way it all feels. The stitching on here is also really nice. I have no complaints about this pre-order bonus, and I will have images towards the end of what he looks like in this. The first thing I want to talk about, and we'll zoom in, and then we'll get the brightness going up here. There we go. This head sculpt is actually really good. I really like how the eyes are painted on here. Nice printing going on too. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I do think that the different shades of green going on there, looking really good. You also have what's going on in the mouth. You have the like pinkish reddish going on there, and then you also have the teeth. I feel like, I don't know what it is. It might be how they're capturing the like inner lip or something, but there's a little bit of pink right there too. It's not that distracting. I think it's because of just how he's screaming in this face. I believe you get a bunch of different faces with the deluxe version for the unmasked head too. And you do have these really nice lighter blue highlights going on all the way down towards the ends of the hair. It's a little bit like this blackish blue. It's very much darker, like almost completely black up here. The with the hair. And this sculpting overall is really nice. It's very accurate to how it looks in the anime. Nice spiked areas here. I guess I'd just be careful with some of this stuff. This is definitely a harder plastic right here, and it might have a tendency to snap. I don't see any paint splotching on here, so that's really good. I like the squinted eyebrows there as well. Trying to move on really quick because we just get a lot of different hands, and they're on this tree here that we get with a lot of Good Smile figures, the Figma figures at least. One thing I do want to mention, we have two different types of grip hands. It looks like one is a little bit of a smaller grip compared to this. I believe when you're taking out parts of the... That's not going to work. When you're taking out parts of the sword, I'm guessing that's going to have something to do with it, because you could pop off the bottom of this. So I'm guessing this is meant for holding the actual holstered katana. And this is more for the sword. We'll find out towards the end of the review when I do the photos. We have these more relaxed hands, as you see here. And they're not all on the tree, but some of these hands are displayed in the bag differently. You know, they do have these extra wrist pegs, or these little like plugs, I should say, that go in here. The idea is to make sure when you're not using these hands to plug this in. Apparently the plastic can shrink. That's kind of worrisome. That's like that with a lot of Figma, which I don't really know why it's like that. Anyway, we also have like sprawled hands here, as you can see, for more action poses. And then we have these straighter finger sprawled hands. I already talked about these. We also have a thumb up right there. Well, not just one. We have two thumbs up right there. And then another grip hand. I believe this is the smaller grip right there. Also, we have to mention we have the other like expressed clenched finger, as you can see there. So we do get a lot of different hands, and these are pretty nicely sized hands. They're pretty big, since his hands are pretty big. There's not much detailing going on here. It is accurate to how they're supposed to look, I guess. There's not like any specific markings on the hands. They do have this nice matte finish on the paint. A lot of the times, though, the paint can be very delicate, just like the smallest thing you do. Like, if I set it down, like, right here sometimes, that could, I mean, not on this cardboard, but sometimes just something could happen where it does scuff. I think one of the back of the hands already, if I could focus today. Yeah, there's just ever so slightly a scuff right here, and I just took this out. I didn't do anything. So, that's a little worrisome with how delicate the paint is, but that's a common complaint I have with the line as a whole. Okay, so we also have the holstered version of his katanas, and these are really nicely done how these are all wrapped up. The actual detailing, I'm all over the place a little bit with the looking at the detailing, but I do think that the actual like wraps on here and the paint that they used, all that looks really good. There's not much shading, but you can actually tell there is paint in here, so that's a good thing. And then we have this peg right here. Well, first of all, actually, there's at the end here, there's some silver right there. And then this peg right here. Both of the holstered katanas, as you can see, there is a hole right there on the side. The idea is you plug in the swords like this, and it's probably going to give me a little bit of trouble. You have to angle it a bit, and they're supposed to fit in there like this. And you can see that the way that the the fur is around his waist is sculpted in a particular way to accommodate for that, but I can't push it in all the way right now. It's giving me a little bit too much trouble. Last but certainly not least, we have two of these exact nitrine swords. I believe that's what they were called. One of you Demon Slayer fans is going to educate the crap out of me in the comments. I really like what they did with the like detailing in the actual blade. It's like a little bit blued and some silver mixed in there. That blued steel, it looks fantastic. All these different serrated parts of the blade here, all that looks fantastic. There's not any kind of problem with any of that. That is really sick. Then we get down to the wrappings here on the sword. That looks great. And you guys did see earlier that, you're supposed to pop these off and then slip this onto the hand and then plug this back in. And then we have a little bit of that tie towards the end, and then you do have the bottom here that has silver. So lots of pretty nice accessories, but you're going to get even more stuff like effects pieces and different faces for the unmasked head in the deluxe version. I forgot to mention there's actually a ball joint at these sheets right here, so they can move around. Not too bad when they're plugged in. to the side of the hips. Before I talk about the actual figure, I want to talk about the pricing of this really quick, because depending on where you get it from, it's going to be different pricing. So I got mine from Good Smile's US website. I don't remember how much everything is going to be after shipping, what I'm about to list off, but it's listed there before shipping, $80.99. Amiami, it's going to be $49.71, and then it's going to be $96.99 on Big Bad Toy Store. And then take into account whatever shipping needs to happen if you're familiar with those websites. I mentioned that because look at this. Do you see this? Look at that. That is loose. Watch this. See that? This cannot keep a pose. This thing is upwards of 80 to over $100, depending on where you're going to get it from. And it can't even keep a sword. It's a swordsman that can't hold his sword up. Maybe like this, if you want to like finagle it in some ways. But this is, oh my god, it's awful. That is absolutely horrible quality. I feel like the quality on particular Figma are getting worse and worse lately. So I'm not super happy that I'm basically, I've said it earlier, I'm 4 for 4 with me not really loving the Demon Slayer line. Nezuko is not amazing. Zenitsu and Tanjiro are okay. And this guy, he looks great, but oh man, it's not as bad here, but it's still pretty loose. How, that's not acceptable. Almost $100 figure here. One thing I do want to mention though, going into the detail of the actual figure, this boar's head is sculpted really well. It looks very anime accurate. I love how they did the paint of the eyes around the sockets too. It's a little bit dark gray. The lighter gray fur, all that paint on there is nice. The snout, the tusks, all that looks pretty great. It looks like a little bit too much separation with the plastic there where the snout is, but it's not too bad. The way that they have a little bit of shading, where it goes from gray to like pinkish almost in the ears, that's cool. The sculpting could be a little bit better, but it's accurate enough that you need for the fur and all that. And you have the separate neck fur piece, so that way it moves around and all that. You can have a little bit more dynamic posing, so it's not all just a fixed piece here, as you can see. Hole on the back there. I think the way that they've sculpted the muscles is good, where you can see like the stomach, the belly button, the abs, the pecs, and all that. The muscles on the forearms are pretty nice. One thing I will mention is that the you can see up here, it's pretty clear there's a joint there. It sticks out a little too much. I do think the collar, the neck piece does hide it a bit, but there are definitely going to be times where you're going to be like, wow, those ball joint elbows are really sticking out. I don't think it's as bad as the elbows this time. I don't know if I said elbows, it's just shoulders. Elbows here, they're a little bit like a disc, as you can see, looking forward. And even if you move them back, they're a little too circular. They still fit pretty well. If you move it, like if you bend it in certain angles and like that, you're not going to be able to tell. So, oh boy, this hand is also a little loose. I'm hoping it's just this hand and not the sword holding hands. So looseness on this figure that I'm going to have to, if I don't get rid of this, I'm going to have to figure out what to do about the looseness. And I shouldn't have to. I really shouldn't have to go in here and add like tack or hot glue or even super glue maybe to keep this figure stable when Good Smile should be doing that themselves. I don't find that acceptable for how much you're paying. If I'm going to get on Marvel Legends for raising their prices and having worse quality, I'm going to go even more hard on a $90 figure. Anyway, with that ranting out of the way, the inside of the fur, it's not super duper detailed. This little piece right here has a little bit of detail, and it kind of, the way this is done where, you move this around, it still kind of looks like there's still fur connected. That's cool. I think that the fur painted on here is, everything's got like a matte finish on it, and it feels nice. And, around here too, and the fur is pretty nicely sculpted. I don't really like that I could see all the skin tone right there in that port where you're supposed to put the sword holsters. I do think that the joints here are hidden pretty well. And then they've even painted it a little bit. You can see a little bit of skin in there, but they kind of painted the inside here a little bit, and they just didn't do it at all here, so not a fan of that. Now we get down to the legs. The detailing and sculpting is pretty good. I don't really, it's mostly just in this like very dark blue paint, but there is some nice wrinkles. I think there might be a little bit of shading in some areas, but like the wrinkles, the loose bagginess, all that looking pretty good. And then we look towards the back, still some details. You can see some details in the back there. A lot of this is gonna not look natural though, like how that waistband does. It's mostly because, you know, they sacrificed making that look natural, and then they put in the fur to cover all that, like how the character's supposed to look. So that's fine, I think. We do have this more like fur piece down towards the calves. All that looks really good. The ball joints and the double knees don't look that attractive, but you know, they blend in pretty well because of the same color. You're not gonna, of course, you're not gonna notice it face forward, but even like around here, if I could zoom it or focus a little bit, yeah, it's still a little noticeable. So I do like the fur sculpted here. It's just mostly in this matte, almost black, very dark blue paint, and then you have some of that paint on the top of the feet, and then they actually have a molded in that color type of ball joint in the ankles, but it looks a little different compared to this and this, but I mean, it's not that bad right now. And the skin tone on here is actually pretty good too, I think. I mean, the sculpting kind of breaks up a little bit when you do that. And the fact that there's a little bit of skin tone on there looks a little weird, but it's not god awful. That's what the back look like, all the torn up parts of the heels and all that. The bottom of the feet looking pretty nice. So, you know, it's a pretty nicely detailed piece, I think. I don't own the Aniplex, you know, the Buzzmod one to compare, but yeah, man, this is such a, look at that's horrible. That's god awful. So just to go over articulation really quick. So this ball joint going in here that's slightly angled, and you have this peg that would go into the body. That is different from what we have here. That ball joint peg is going all the way up here, and then that other peg going into the body is going all the way down. Then there's a separate ball joint, I should say, actually, at the neck. So it allows for all this range of motion rotating here. This piece also moves, you know, the neck piece. And, you know, the head articulation is not the greatest, but the down is pretty good. The up can go actually pretty decent. The side to side is not the greatest. But rotation is fine. You know, you have ball joints that can go forward like this, and they can, you know, go in and out, and then that pops out really easily. So there's that hinge here, and then there's this ball joint in here, and then there is a bit of an arm swivel up in here. But I mean, there's also the fact that there's so much space that you don't even need that because of that ball joint there. That's really awful. That's really not good. It's a little bit more tight, I guess, going downward, but you know, sometimes you got to bring it up still. And yeah, it's still, God, that's so bad. I hate that. We do have this joint going into the bicep that can swivel a little bit. I think at the tricep, actually it doesn't. It rotates a little bit at the tricep. We do have a single joint elbow, but it bends over 90. We have the standard wrist that we give a lot of import, so it swivels here, goes forward and back, and then you can go in and out if you manipulate it and all that. We have a ball joint up here at the waist, you know, back and forth, side to side, and a rotation. Separate ab crunch. I'm trying to see how far forward it can go. It doesn't seem like the ab crunch is even that useful, but the ball joint here at the waist is actually, you know, you can move that a little bit, so you do get a combined range of motion, so that does work, but there is a lot of gappage, and that's not even to mention all these ball joints and hinges on the fur pieces going towards the back too. All of that, as you can see there. Now we do have drop down legs like that, and then you can make them kick out all the way. They can go forward, a little bit tight on my figure. Back, it's actually really good. Did the splits already. Upper thigh swivel, you can see that right there. We do have double jointed knees, so we have separate parts that bend like that. I think a little bit of rotation here and here as well. Swivel at the ankle, and I forgot to mention swivel. Yeah, I think I already said swivel at the calf. Swivel at the ankle, down and up could be better, not bad. Swivel here, you know, the ankle swivel. And then you do have toe hinge. So the articulation is decent at least, but, you know, again, he's not going to be able to keep some certain poses that you want to keep him in. Measuring out this figure to the top of this character's ears, we're looking like only like 13.5 centimeters. Figmas are really small. I feel like this one is even more small. You're not even getting like 5.5 inches there. As you can see, it scales pretty well with the rest of the Demon Slayer characters. They're all about the same height, and these are all the Figma ones I have. Over on the far right, I have a Jujutsu Kaisen Zero Yuta from SH Figure Arts. As you can see, it's much taller than these Demon Slayer Figmas. So yeah, not super happy with this figure. I think that the quality on this is even worse than Nezuko's. I was pretty disappointed with her. This one, I think, is worse than the Nezuko one. I think that the detailing and sculpt is pretty good. I think that the amount of accessories we have with a standard version is nice, and the actual detailing on them is also really good. I think that the joints being extremely loose is super unacceptable. The quality on this figure does not feel like I paid for 95 bucks for this figure. I can barely get him into sword holding poses, in particular ones that I want. I have to basically settle with poses I'm not all that happy with, and it's just really disappointing we're paying this much. And at least on my figure, it's this disappointing. I haven't seen other reviews yet, but I'm not very happy. I know I could probably go in and tighten these joints. I shouldn't have to. I really shouldn't. With how much these figures are being charged for, this is not acceptable. And I'm not very happy. Besides Ryder this year, I have not been super impressed with a lot of Good Smells products. So definitely not collecting any more of the Demon Slayer figures because, one, that's just a big rabbit hole to go down to, and two, the quality is getting worse and worse. I ain't doing it. If you do want this figure, though, no matter what, or maybe like the deluxe version, I'll leave some links down in the description below. You can still pre-order this guy from some places, and it's available in some places, too. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figures, think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.